Welcome to Cafe Grit. My name is Beth Campbell, and I am the author of Where the Hell is My Bacon?, a book about a corporate team that triumphed over shitty leadership with the help of fried pork. I open Cafe Grit as a place where you can join me in figuring out how to channel your grit and find your voice in the world, whatever that means for you. This is the place to go when you've got the hankering for purpose, the taste for fulfillment, and you're tired of living the rat race. Thanks for stopping in. Cafe Grit is now open for service. Hey everybody, welcome to Cafe Grit. This is a place to go when you've got a hankering for purpose, a taste for fulfillment, and you're tired of living the rat race. I'm tired of living the rat race, but I feel pretty good today because I am sitting at my desk and before me is cleanliness. There's no clutter. I have just but a few things that I need: a pen, my phone, a journal that I'm using for a course that I'm taking. And this is not the norm for Beth Campbell, having a clutter-free, streamlined, simplified desk area. I have two desks. I have a day job and I have my dream job. And both of them, at most times, are very cluttered. I have a short video out there on YouTube. Check it out. It's where I talk briefly about how annoyed I get when I see these beautiful home offices like on Pinterest or in magazines, and they look nothing like my desk. Even now they don't look like my desk, but I typically have a lot of stuff around, a lot of crap. I have a lot of notes. I take a lot of handwritten notes. I take computer notes too, but I take handwritten notes too. I have dishes from various days and cups and spoons and stirrers for my coffee. I find random rogue stirrers all the time when I clean up. Books and journals and pieces of paper and wads of gum that I've put inside of a tissue and vitamins that I didn't use, various hats. I mean, you name it, I probably had it on my desk, one of my desks. And how my desk ended up becoming clean is an interesting story, because I was having a coaching session with one of my coaches, Chappell. Look her up. Karen helped me last year with some chronic pain that I was having. She's got a great program, and we've sort of evolved into doing some mind work, because as we get older, we want to understand ourselves more. And I want to understand why I do things and sometimes why I make choices that aren't the healthiest for me. So we've been working on that. And Karen showed up the other day with a new background that she had put together for her video work. And it was very simple and streamlined. So I mentioned to her that I was intrigued by that because I had been looking into minimalism. So minimalism, I discovered through a book called Minimalism, and it is by Joshua Fields Millburn and Ryan Nicodemus. They have a website, theminimalists.com. They have at least one Netflix documentary, which I've watched a couple of times. This book, several other books. So check them out. They're really cool. So this concept of minimalism, which is not what, if you're not familiar, is not maybe not what you think. It's not about necessarily getting rid of everything and just living a very austere. It's not becoming a monk and going and living with nothing, right? It can be, but it's really a little bit more user-friendly than that. And for me, it's about living intentionally and making sure that the things in my life, and that being the mental things, the physical things, the technology things, serve a purpose and they're not just noise. And I have a lot of noise. I have a lot of certainly technical noise because I have a lot of apps. If you look at my phone, I have like 17,000 photos on my phone. At least 250 of them are duplicates, as I was told the other day. I have mental noise because I have a lot of things going on. I have two podcasts. I have a day job. I have a dog. I have a husband. I have a family. I have events going on. I'm writing books. I'm helping someone else write a book. So I have a lot of that noise that goes on too. And certainly I have a lot of physical debt. I could do an entire show on how I got to the point of being a person who has a lot of stuff, when inherently I feel in my soul that is not the person that I want to be or am. I have my grandmother was a Depression era young woman, and my mother was a post-Depression, post-war woman, and both of them kept a lot of stuff. My grandmother had all kinds of tchotchke stuff in her house, and my mother was a borderline, maybe not even borderline hoarder. When she died, I mean, the shit that she had in our basement of our family home, she had a whole entire file cabinet that just had papers from when we were kids, like our first year in school, that far back. And it wasn't anything, it was just crap. And clothes, that was another big thing. There's a whole other discussion about women getting into their glory middle years and suddenly becoming big shoppers where they really were not before. So I have a lot of stuff, not hoarder level, but I accumulate stuff, and I have pockets of areas where it's very cluttered. And my desk is a great bad example of that. My desks have just traditionally, again, been very just full of shit. And so Karen and I, we're talking about this. And of course, I was trying to understand, in addition to my heritage of my mother and my grandmother and their collection habits, but also, my personal narrative and she asked a really good question. What does this serve for you? How does this serve you? Because we don't do something over and over and over again without it having some benefit for us. Even the stuff that we consider not good or not healthy or maybe not the best choice to make. So again, it could be a whole episode on that. That's maybe not why I'm here. So I did ask myself, how does this serve me? I did ponder that for a few minutes. And there's probably many, many reasons, many things that clutter serves, right? People like me don't like gaps. I'm a person, when I speak, I have to be very conscious of how I'm speaking, because I will tend to fill gaps with words. Extroverts very often do this. So we'll use and and so and I try to limit that, but it still comes through. I believe that my clutter on some level is also an excuse to not do things that are a part of at least the desk clutter. The desk clutter probably serves to help me avoid having to sit down at my dream job computer, because I'm at my day job computer and monitors for 8 or 9, sometimes more hours a day. Sometimes I just don't want to look at another computer. And yet it's important. I'm committed to writing. I'm committed to podcasting. I like doing it. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy writing. When I write a really good piece of something, it makes me feel so good. When I create a great graphic. So, but it's also that noise. It's the noise of all of the stuff in my head that I have to do. And the stuff here that becomes around that space where I would work on the stuff in my head serves as a deterrent, because I can look at that and say, oh, my desk is kind of dirty. I can't really get to my keyboard very well, or I should probably just clean that up first. And then of course I don't. And I get overwhelmed because there's so much of it. I don't know where to start. So all of this, great introspective, and probably something that if you are a cluttered person, might want to think about and ask yourself, well, how does that serve you? Because I'm asking myself, how does that serve me? But anyway, so back to minimalism. I have read the minimalism, say that 5 times, minimalism. I have read Minimalism, and I've watched the documentary on Netflix a couple of times, and it very much appeals to me. And these guys are very adamant to say, to imply, or I infer, that minimalism isn't just getting rid of everything. It's asking yourself, it's being intentional and asking yourself, when you buy something or take something on, or get some technical noise or some technical application, is this something that is going to serve you? Is it going to, does it have a purpose? Is it going to bring you joy? And they have a whole series. You can go to their website. They've got a lot of free information where you can kind of assess when you're going to buy something. But the key is to just be intentional about what you have, which means if you love books, and you, as I do, and I recently, when a couple years ago when we moved into this house, one of the first things I did was I had a bookshelf built into my living room wall. My parents had one when I was growing up. I loved it. It was like my own little personal library. I've always wanted one. So I just had the whole back wall of my living room built into a bookshelf. And I love the look of it. I love having all of those books there. It makes me happy. And my husband's got books there. And I pulled some books. I bought some books that were reminiscent of my childhood, that I had used in my childhood, childcraft books. Or my mother had this book, The Book of the Dead, which always scared me. But now I just remember it so vividly. I bought a copy. So these are meaningful. The books are meaningful to me. And I have a lot of them. And that's okay. That minimalism is not about just saying, okay, well, I can't have books. It's saying, are those meaningful? Do they serve a purpose? Yes. Now, I have other things on my shelf that, as I'm watching this documentary for the second time, I'm realizing maybe I want to get rid of, because they don't really serve a purpose. They don't really bring me joy, and they're just filling space. And I need to learn how to be comfortable with the space. That's something that I, on many levels, have to work on. Such as the example I said earlier, people like me don't like audible space. We don't like talking space. So I'm talking with Karen, my coach, yesterday about minimalism, and we're talking through, she's asking me, what does this serve? How does this serve you? And we had a little discussion about that. And then she said, show me it. So I took my camera and I showed her. So she, we go in many different directions in our coaching. And in this day, she said, okay, I want to do something different. She said, do you have something that you can put your stuff in, like bins or some sort of storage? And I said, yeah, I do. As a matter of fact, I have tons of. This is, again, the person in me who wants to be streamlined and very organized, but often is not. I have a lot of storage containers. And in fact, I had just bought 2 white boxes for organizing my cleaning supplies, which is another clutter area. Like, no human being on the planet needs this much cleaning supply stuff, especially someone who doesn't really clean much. So that is the irony here, is that is another pocket that I need to address, of why do I have so many cleaning supplies and I never use them? Because what does it serve me? I don't know. That is a question I shall ponder. Anyway, so Karen says, okay, go get those bins. She says, this is what we're going to do today. She said, go get those bins. She said, I want you to just take everything off of your desk that is not a necessity and put it in those containers, and then put it somewhere. I'm not telling you to put it where it belongs or to sort through it or to get rid of it. I'm just telling you, get it off your desk. So I got up, I pulled those bins out here, and I threw everything in there. I found a book that I didn't know was in a pile. I found 2 coffee stirrers. I told you, every time I clean, I find coffee stirrers. I found some earrings, a few other things, and I just put them in 2 little white bins that are currently now sitting next to me on my my little sofa bed. And I'm just going to leave them there for a while. And I've gone in a couple of times where I've needed a pen or something, a necessity, but I have not pulled out just everything and anything just because it's there. So this was a great solution as a start to try to get this space clean. Further, because I've cleaned my desk before, I've actually somehow dug deep down into the guts and found some motivation to actually clean. It was not this easy, but so I've done this before, and then it just gets cluttered again. So Karen suggested that I start a routine, just like brushing your teeth or putting your makeup on, if you put makeup on, or getting your shoes on, or getting up in the morning, just like I do with many things. I get up, I take a shit, if I'm being honest. I get myself dressed, I put my shoes on, take my dog out to pee and poop, and then we go for a walk. So I have a routine. So I'm making now she's suggesting that this be a part of my routine. So every day, either before work or at the end of the day, I am going to set myself a reminder. Probably I'll do it in the morning because I'm a morning person. And before I even start my day, I'm going to clean up the clutter. And I found myself actually doing this yesterday. Before I even really implemented this plan, I found myself looking around at just the little things that I had a bottle of water, and I had drunk the whole entire thing, but I had left the cap on my desk, and there was something else small that I wasn't really using, but I just left it there rather than put it where it belonged. So I already found myself really engaging in this routine of cleaning my space. And it feels good. I'm here doing a podcast right now because I feel less cluttered. I feel like it was an inviting space to sit down in and do this podcast. So it seems to be working. And so now the key is maintaining it and doing that little bit every day to clean up, as well as attempting to tackle the cleanup of all of the shit that's over there. And I'm really going to be very intentional about stuff, because a lot of us do get caught up in the sentimental stuff, or the stuff that we think that we're going to need. And in truth, I will just, in defense of myself a little bit here, I do use a lot of stuff. I have a lot of stuff going on. I have podcasts, and I write, and I do a lot of stuff technically where I need microphones and speakers, and I do with different devices. Sometimes I need a phone, and I've got this microphone that I use for my desktop. So I acknowledge that I do have a lot of stuff going on. So sometimes that just necessarily means different stuff, like cords. I have a lot of cords, but it's all stuff that I really do use every day. But that being said, I have a lot of shit that I don't use. The amount of pens and writing instruments that I have is insane. And I'm not saying that I need to throw them out, but do they need to be sitting out on my desk? I use one pen at a time, one at a time. And cords are another thing. I've got all my cords that I have hooked up, but I have a lot of cords that just sort of float around. And do I really need them to float around? Notes, notebooks, those kinds of things. Even sentimental items, because I know a lot of people get caught up in this thought of, well, if it's sentimental, I need to keep it. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's meaningful to you. But sometimes people, like my mother, keep sentimental items that really don't serve any purpose, and they are really not better than a memory. So remember, we always have memories. I remembered, as I was going through this minimalism epiphany, I have up in my closet 3, 4, maybe 5 boxes, photo boxes filled with photos that I used to use when I scrapbooked. This was many years ago when I first married my husband. We had new dogs, I had stepsons. My nieces and nephews were young and adorable. They're still adorable. But I did a lot of scrapbooking and made some albums. And so therefore I printed a lot of pictures. And honestly, most of them are not great pictures. They're just kind of blurry, old smartphones when the cameras were pretty new, and even some that came from traditional cameras. And I just don't use them anymore. And I've gone through several moves with those photos and been reluctant to give them up, because I have this idea that's been ingrained in me that you don't throw away sentimental stuff. But the truth is, it's not really very sentimental. They're not even life-changing events like weddings and such, and they're really not that great of photos. They're really things that I just printed from iPhone photos, random stuff, just so I'd have enough pictures of whatever the subject was for this particular album or album page. And so I'm going to get rid of them. They really don't serve any purpose. I'll pick out a few that maybe are meaningful and keep them somewhere, put them on my vision board, maybe for some inspiration, but they're just taking up space, and all of that stuff that we don't use, that just sits there, and we wonder, what should I do with it? Or what is someone going to do with it? What if something happens to me? Someone's going to have to deal with all of this crap. So for that purpose too, do I really need it? So anyway, that is why my desk is clean, because I've been having this conversation with my coach and with myself about minimalism. And I'm going to continue on this path of finding things and really asking myself some hard questions about the purpose of these things, if they serve me, if they provide joy or meaning in my life. And if the answer is no to all of those, then it's time to donate or throw away or sell or something, so that I can live a more streamlined life and become comfortable with that space, whether it's the physical space, the technological space, or the space in my brain. So what about you? Are you somebody who has a lot of clutter, and how does that make you feel? Does it weigh upon you like it does me? Are you doing anything about it? Does it just make you sad? Can you find that motivation? Check out the Minimalists, theminimalists.com, the book Minimalism, and or the Netflix series. They're great. But start exploring getting rid of some of your stuff. I have a great page that I discovered, a Facebook page group for my local community. We've got several of them. One of them is kind of like a next door thing, and I don't really pay attention there because next door is toxic. But this one is just a free, and most cities or communities have some sort of a free group where you just offer things with that you're trying to get rid of, rather than packing a lot of stuff up and taking it to a donation place like a Goodwill, which I do also. I have a lot of stuff. Usually my big stuff is the stuff that I'll give away in the Facebook group. But it really feels good when you do get something out of your house and give it to somebody who is really going to find value in it and be able to use it and find purpose, and it serves them more than it did for you. So I've done that with quite a few things lately that I've just got sitting around and been waiting, the dog stuff, dog beds and dog fences and all kinds of other things. So try that. That's a great option for you. Of course, your traditional donation centers are great as well. Selling stuff if you're trying to make a little bit of money, and don't feel bad about throwing stuff out that really isn't going to be useful to anybody. There's nothing wrong with that. Recycle it if you can, but if you can't, it's okay. So let me know how you deal with your clutter, and if you have a clutter issue, and if you were looking to explore minimalism. Check me out I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, I'm now on Threads. So check me out on Threads, and Facebook, of course. But in any case, regardless of how you deal with your clutter, never forget, you are a badass. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Take it easy. Hey everybody, thank you for stopping by Cafe Grit, where the moxie is fresh, the passion cold brewed, and everything is served with a heaping side of mojo. For more Cafe Grit episodes, please check out bethancampbell.com/Cafe Grit. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider giving it a rating or review on YouTube, Buzzsprout, or your favorite streaming platform. I'll be forever grateful, and in return, I'll wish upon you copious amounts of bacon, your favorite hot beverage, and of course, pie. I'd love to connect and hear about your grit experiences as well. Please go to bethancampbell.com for links to all my social media. Cafe Grit is a product of Beth Ann Campbell, LLC, all rights reserved. Thanks again, and remember, you are a badass. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Take it easy.